First of all, I'm not the cricketer. Just want to make sure that everyone understands that. It's great to be here. Thank you, CHT, for the opportunity. I just want to start with what Honorable Minister Mr. Puri said yesterday. He said that his vision is to take India to be number 3 to number 2 in the coming years as a powerhouse for supplying, refining, and petrochemical products for the whole world. That's a very interesting suggestion because I never heard that. He really wants to move in that direction because I thought that most of the refiners are focusing on India only. At least that's what my belief. Maybe I'm wrong. But by hearing that vision, I thought that how can we beat the other countries or companies who are doing better than us? How can we be more competitive? So what I did was in IPA, what we do is that we do project research, capital projects. That's our CapEx. That's our main area of study. We do a lot of research and benchmarking and risk assessment for them. So we work with most of the major oil and gas organizations in the world. So we have the data from all of them. So I look at a set of Indian projects and a set of global projects, see that how we are performing in India versus how the industry in other parts of the world is performing, and what are some of the best practices we can follow from the industry and incorporate into our projects. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. As we know that we have a lot of challenges in executing large projects in India, which I know that not a good things to say, but that's what if you look at the data says. A lot of challenges. We know that there are internal and external challenges. Internal means within the organizations. External means there are wars happening, supply chain issues, things like that. But what we can do is we can look into internal aspects. That's what I'm focusing here, and what can we do to improve ourselves. So I'll be looking at India projects as well as global projects and the practices. And here I am particularly focusing on one aspect, which is schedule, because that is very common in Indian projects, slipping the schedule. I looked at the cost as well, compared to the estimates which sanctioned at the time of board authorization or after DFR, versus when the project's completed, what's the status? So 0 means we are almost on whatever we budgeted. When we complete the project, we achieve that one. And plus 20% means we spend 20% more than the budget. So in general, out of the 55 Indian projects I looked at, it ranges from minus 10 to 20%. So, but the median and mean, which is roughly states around 0, which is we are almost more or less at the money. However, when I look at the schedule, I have a different observation. On average, you can see that average is 40%, median is 30%, and it ranges from almost 0 to 80%. That means when we estimated versus actual, the schedule slip can be anywhere between on time versus almost double what we estimated, which is pretty bad. Why it is bad? When we look at, one thing is your business case. Your business case go haywire. Your NPV calculations and whatever the market to product issues. Even sometimes you also notice that project typically slips a lot, have a lot of operability issues as well. It's a byproduct of that. So what is driving these issues? I know that I talked about external issues, but internal issues as well. I look into internal issues. So typically, why the cost is 0? Most of the time, we see that the lump sum EPC contract in India, there is very less chance of having a late changes, in those contracts. We have ironclad contracts in India. So that's actually keeping that cost part stable, but the schedule is a problem. A lot of reasons in the project planning is not proper, issues in the construction, late engineering, vendor issues, permits, lack of skilled labor, land, bunch of issues as you all are aware of it. Some of the issues we know that, but I want to focus, as I mentioned, schedule. If you know that we have a strong team of cost estimators and controllers in our organization, but we have very less schedule or planners in our organization. Because our focus is most of the time on the schedule side, very less on the, cost side, less on the schedule side. So I see projects which has a milestone type of schedule for $1 billion project. The project team, the owner team, says that the schedule is contractor's responsibility. That's not true, because the less they know about it, the more problem they're having at the site. A lot of reasons, because also the lack of project management knowledge within the teams is a big problem in India overall. Many organizations do not have proper systems to manage the projects. Some of systems set up in 20 years ago think that they still work in the same way. World has changed a lot. We have not adopted a lot of practices what the other organizations have practiced across the globe. And we do less planning in the front end. That's another key issues. So what I did was, I look at this Indian story. I know it's not a very nice one, but still. So I look at the global projects. I look at 100+ projects in the refining and petrochemical sectors. And then I grouped into two. One is one set of projects which are doing very well. And other one is just rest all the group, or how they perform, and see that why some projects are doing in a better way, and identified a few of the practices they follow, okay? Let's look at those practices. So this is the data set I used, across the world, last 10 years projects, same time period as Indian project, I looked at it. Average cost is close to 179 million to $5 billion. This is a data set I used. So the practices, it's all fundamentals. Number one, clarity of business objectives and priorities. The projects, when they set it up, sorry, I'm running short of time, right? Sorry. I'll make it quick. Most of the projects do not have a very clear set of business objectives. Quantifiable business objectives, which is lacking. I want a petrochemical plant, that's it. At what capacity, the details are missing. And in between, they change the scope, which is quite normal. I have seen the projects like that. Priorities, what's the priorities? Is it the cost-driven project, schedule-driven, operability-driven? What's the priorities? Most of the projects I have, Indian projects, they want everything, which is not possible to get it, okay? Having clear and documented business objectives and priorities, the first step, which drives the team, effective team, they can do it, and which drives a complete front-end loading, that is the project definition, project planning. So the team can translate that business case into a scope of work, into a project that is about to execute. That drives to a detailed baseline, an integrated resource-loaded schedule. Unfortunately, say that I have looked at almost 100+ Indian projects. I haven't seen a single one have a integrated resource-loaded schedule at the time of project sanction. Control grade cost estimates, a detailed project execution plan. Execution plans, typically the project team says to me that, oh, that is contractor's responsibility, not mine. That's wrong. Which drives them to have a very solid controls when they go to execute, because they know what is their cost, what is the schedule, and how they're going to execute. And here are the projects I looked at it. So the normal projects in the industry, average slip is about 24%, and the projects which followed some of the good practices, average slip is just 9%, which is within the band of plus or minus 10%. Again, it doesn't mean that you can completely eliminate the slips, because there are a lot of other external aspects which we may not be able to control, but these projects actually manage to come within that range what their business team or management wants to do. I just want to touch upon the schedule-driven strategy, why I'm talking about it, because most of the Indian projects are very aggressive in schedule. They want everything faster. If 60-month projects, they want to get it done in 40 months. So I just want to caution on that one, what I see in the industry. So as my boss says that, speed kills. So when a schedule-driven projects, typically they can't meet that objective, as well as the cost also go overrun. Typically, that's what we see in the industry. Why? Why it's a schedule-driven projects, the problem with schedule-driven projects? Typically, the schedule-driven projects, we always have the problem of the management or the CEO will announce that projects to the market, oh, I'm going to have these projects in, say, 40 months. So the project team has to work within that range of 40 months, because when the boss says to the market, 40 months, they haven't done enough work most of the time. Across the world, it's not just here, across the world, that's the case. So then the project team needs to work backwards, and the only place they can cut short of the time, they can't cut short the construction phase because that takes its own time. So the only place they can cut short is the planning side. They cut short the planning, then they go to construction, then they have all the problems along the way. So I just want to say that, there are a lot of issues we have. Management wants speed, that's common across the world. Also, please take note that we have stretched resources across the world. There's a lot of problem in the Western world. There's a demographic cliff happening, so they are depending on countries like India to do most of the engineering and most of the work. So as you know that the GCCs in India are expanding rapidly. So India is supplying a lot of people across the world. So that will impact your projects as well. Don't expect that you get the A teams. Gaps in the project planning, that is significant in Indian projects, something we can do internally. We can be better in that one. So essentially, doing these basic things, it's not something rocket science. These are the basic things we do in our projects, actually drive our projects in a better way, and we can have a more predictable projects and improve our competitiveness as well. Thank you.